Now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
Bruce Banner is 5'9". The Hulk is almost double that. And somehow, nobody at Marvel can agree on the exact number, and neither can the fans, and honestly, neither can the movies themselves. So let's settle this once and for all, because the answer is a lot weirder than he's just big.
And Hulk. Smash.
Before we even touch the movies, you need to know that Hulk's size has never been fixed in the comics either. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created him back in May of 1962, and from the very first issue, his body has been treated like a moving target. Marvel's own official handbooks have printed different numbers across different decades. In 1983, the official handbook of the Marvel Universe listed him at 7 feet tall and 1,040 pounds. By 2004, a newer handbook bumped those numbers up. Generally speaking, comic book Hulk sits somewhere between 7 and 8 feet tall, and his weight floats between 1,040 pounds and 1,400 pounds, depending on which writer is holding the pen that month. That range alone tells you this was never meant to be a precise measurement. It was meant to feel massive, and different artists just drew massive differently. And here's where it gets fun, because Hulk isn't one version of himself. He's several, and each one has its own listed size. The original Grey Hulk, the very first form Stan Lee wanted before printing issues accidentally turned him green, stood at 6'6". That's the shortest official Hulk in comic history. Then you've got Savage Hulk, the classic smash first, think never version most fans picture, standing around 7'6". Professor Hulk, sometimes called Smart Hulk, the version that combines Banner's intelligence with Hulk's body, is listed at 7'6" as well, weighing 1,150 pounds. Green Scar, the warrior version from the Planet Hulk storyline, comes in taller at 8'8", and then Immortal Hulk, one of the more recent comic runs, pushed him all the way to 10 feet. There was even a cosmic version called Titan Hulk that reportedly reached 30 feet, though that's an extreme outlier used for one specific storyline rather than anything close to his standard size. Now let's get into live action, because this is where most people actually formed their idea of what Hulk looks like. The first time Hulk appeared on screen in any real capacity was the television series that ran from 1977 to 1982, starring Bill Bixby as David Banner and Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. There were no visual effects doing any heavy lifting here. Ferrigno simply put on green body paint and became the character physically. Since there was no CGI to exaggerate his size, the Hulk in that show was exactly as tall as the man playing him, 6'5". That makes it the shortest live-action Hulk that has ever existed. And it's also the most human version, because what you saw on screen was genuinely just a very large bodybuilder standing in front of a camera. Then, in 2003, Ang Lee directed a Hulk movie starring Eric Bana as Bruce Banner. And this one is not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it deserves a mention because it's the closest any film has come to matching the comic's growing anger mechanic. In this version, the angrier Hulk gets, the bigger he gets, and the movie actually shows that happening in real time across 3 stages. He starts around 9 feet tall, then, as his rage builds, he grows to roughly 12 feet, and in the film's final act, deep inside a government bunker in the New Mexico desert, he reaches an enormous 15 feet. That final form is, by a wide margin, the tallest live-action Hulk ever put on screen, taller than anything the MCU has ever attempted. The Marvel Cinematic Universe version began in 2008 with The Incredible Hulk, starring Edward Norton as Bruce Banner. This film rebooted the character for the shared universe and took a more restrained approach to his size. The visual effects team specifically avoided making him too towering or too inhuman, aiming instead for something closer to an oversized athlete than a rampaging giant. As a result, this Hulk topped out at around 9 feet tall and did not grow beyond that, regardless of how angry he got. Since Norton stood at 6 feet as Banner, that means this version of Hulk added roughly 3 feet to his human height. When Mark Ruffalo took over the role, starting with the Avengers in 2012, the design shifted again. According to Marvel's own printed materials, specifically the Shield Files book released alongside the Avengers, Hulk's official height was listed at 8'5". That's about 5 inches shorter than Norton's version. A physics professor named Rhett Elaine, who teaches at Southeastern Louisiana University, ran his own calculations by comparing Hulk's frame to known objects in film footage across multiple movies, and he landed on that same number, roughly 8'5", for every Ruffalo appearance, including The Avengers, Age of Ultron, and Thor Ragnarok. Since Ruffalo himself stands at 5'7" as Banner, that means Hulk gains just under 3 feet when he transforms, which is actually a smaller jump proportionally than Norton's version had. That 8'5" figure appears to have stayed consistent through Avengers Age of Ultron in 2015, Thor Ragnarok in 2017, and Avengers Infinity War in 2018, based on both the official press material and the frame-by-frame comparisons fans and researchers have done. Avengers Endgame in 2019 is where things get genuinely uncertain, and I want to be straight with you here. Instead of pretending there's a confirmed number, because there isn't one that Marvel has officially published. In that film, Banner permanently merges with Hulk, creating the version widely known as Smart Hulk or Professor Hulk, combining Banner's brain with Hulk's body without needing to transform back and forth. Visually, many fans and online communities have pointed out that this version looks noticeably shorter and less bulky than the Hulk seen in Ragnarok or Infinity War, especially in shots where he's standing next to characters like Korg. Some of that could be intentional storytelling, since the comic version of Professor Hulk is canonically smaller and physically weaker than Savage Hulk, standing around 7'6" instead of 8'5" or taller. But I have to be honest that no official Marvel document I could find has printed a specific number for Endgame's Hulk. This is fan observation and comic parallel, not confirmed studio data, so treat it as an educated guess rather than a fact. So when you line it all up, from shortest to tallest, you get Ferrigno's Television Hulk at 6'5", Ruffalo's Endgame Smart Hulk, likely somewhere close to 7'6" based on comic parallels, Ruffalo's core Avengers era Hulk at 8'5", Norton's 2008 Hulk at roughly 9 feet, and Ang Lee's rage-fueled giant peaking at a wild 15 feet. Same character, same basic concept, 5 completely different scales depending on who was directing and what story they were trying to tell. If you learned something new here, subscribe and turn on notifications because there's a lot more Marvel history like this coming and you don't want to miss the next one. Drop a comment telling me which Hulk version you think looks the most accurate to the comics.